Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this masterclass Become an Expert in Growing Your Nearshore Tech Team. This event is brought to you by Symbiosis, a marketplace that connects tech companies in the US with remote tech talent from Latin America. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put it down on the chat box in the right, and we will make sure to follow up. So let's review the agenda for today. We will start by giving a quick introduction to nearshore. We'll compare different regions, Latin America, Europe, and Asia. And then what are the most efficient ways to hire people from those regions? We will talk also of the art or the process for hiring and managing remote tech talent. What's the best way to find them, to vet them, hire them with compliance and everything, and then to manage those resources. And lastly, we will have a quick demo of our product, of our platform Symbiosis, with a special offer for all of you that stay during the whole event. So let's get started. And first, we will share a little bit of context on these topics. What is nearshore compared to offshore? If there's actually some tech talent in Latin America, we'll compare this region with Europe and Asia. And then we will recommend some of the best ways to hire your remote talent. So let's get started. First, let's define what's nearshore. Basically, we can define it to a country that are very, very close to the US, or that they share similar time zone than us. It is easy to travel. Imagine countries like Canada or Mexico. You can travel and be back in the States in the same day. Or you can bring your team into the US for a couple of weeks or even months. And it is easy in general, to move people around. They share a similar culture than the US, and communication, it tends to be easy. And also, if you want to bring them as an in-house employee, it will be easier as well to bring the people from Canada or Mexico because of the trade agreement that we have. On the other hand, we have offshore, which basically refers to countries that are farther than the US. They have different time zones, maybe sometimes 8 to 15 plus hours difference. It is complicated to travel there, and most of the cases it doesn't make any sense, even to bring your team to the US. They have a different culture. Sometimes there are communication barriers. And also, if you're looking for the long term, if you want to bring those engineers to the US as an in-house employees, the process for visas require a lot of time and money from your side. So let's go deep on the Latin America tech talent pool that we have. Since the last 5 to 10 years, it has been a significant increment in the number of developers that we have in this region. We can see here in Brazil, for example, having 500,000 senior developers, followed by Mexico, then Argentina and Colombia. In total, in this region, we have over 1 million senior software developers that are available. And this happened because, as I mentioned, maybe 10 years ago, more VCs in the US start looking to Latin America to replicate the business model that worked here. So they start investing in tech companies that eventually allow people to pursue technical careers and looking for better opportunities, right? So they knew that if they become a software engineer, they will get a job in those companies. So that's why now we have over 1 million senior developers with 5+ years of experience, and that are fluent in English, have previous experience working for US companies as well. So it's a very, very interesting place to look for talent. And we can compare it with other regions, as we mentioned. If we take in account the same profile, right? A senior full stack developer with 5+ years of experience, we can see the salary range in each region. Latin America, it tends to be half the cost than the US, and it's lower than Eastern Europe and a little bit higher than Asia, right? So, but also if we compare the cultural fit, we can see that Latin America is pretty much similar than the US. This is because countries like Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, they tend to look after the US, right? To learn from the US, and it's pretty similar. Developers practically learn to speak English also as their second language. And the time zone, well, Mexico, for example, shares the same time zone than the US, and countries like Brazil might have like 3 hours difference from the Central Standard Time Zone. So that's okay. In that case, I mean, that's variable. If we compare it to Europe or Asia, we can see that it's 8+ hours or 12+ hours sometimes. So that's important to take into account. Now let's talk about some of the common ways to hire nearshore tech talent. There are more, but basically we'll focus on the 3 most common ways that we have found so far. First, we have talent platforms. There are platforms like Upwork, TopTal that allows you to find freelancers and also full-time remote employees. And these platforms tend to automate the whole process, right? So you can only post a project, get candidates, you interview those candidates, you validate their profiles, you might send some tests, and then once you are ready to hire someone, you can just hire them, sign agreements with them, and pay them through the platform in most of the cases, or you can define a payment method outside of the platform and work with the engineer directly. There's also the staffing agencies. We have companies that normally have 10 to 100 in-house employees, and or sometimes we have like huge companies like Softec that has over 10,000 engineers, right? And they provide them with office space and equipment for them to work, and then just assign those developers to your company as a full-time employee. But they also work as an employer of record, providing like compliance, benefits, and all this stuff. So we can see some examples like Softec, iTexico. Those are the big guys. Virus Dev and other smaller companies there. Also, we have some headhunting agencies. Basically, they specialize on finding resources for your company. You post a project, they charge upfront. Normally, it goes from 18 to 25% of the annual salary that you're expecting to pay to this developer. And it depends on the size, right? Like there are like big companies like Kingsley Gate or placement partners as well, that they are working on finding people for you, and they will just charge a fee once you hire someone. So let's go a little bit deeper on the talent platforms. For an example, let's see the pros and cons. One of the main benefits is that you access to a vast pool of tech talent by region or globally if you're looking to hire people in Europe or in Asia, and it's on demand. So you can tap on that pool whenever you need. You can define the time frame and everything, hire people for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and once the project is over, you can release that extra workforce as you require. Most of these platforms, as I mentioned, Upwork, TopTal, are focused on freelancers. So it's more like for short-term projects, right? And as you know, freelancers tend to be working on multiple projects at the same time, meaning that they are not fully committed to your project. And there's also some of these platforms provide like an initial vetting or a screening, but you normally have to run your own process, right? Like you need to validate that those candidates are a good fit for your specific project. And also some of these platforms provide legal compliance and international payment options. Not all of them. Some of them are just focused on the matchmaking part, but some others also provide like these other services that are very, very valuable if this is the first time that you're doing this. Accountability and commitment are in most cases not assured. That's the downside of it. I mean, like in most cases, no one will take responsibility of what happens here. And it's not ideal for full-time, long-term hiring, right? Like if you're looking to hire and bring someone to the US, there are other ways to do it. Now, regarding staffing agencies, the talent is already hired as in-house employees, and they provide office space, equipment, and legal compliance. So basically, as I mentioned before, these staffing agencies work as your employer of record in those countries, and they also follow up, right? They have this project management assistance just to assure the performance of the engineers, to make sure that they are working as expected. And this is by far the easiest way to build complete teams of multiple roles. And this is something important to take into account if you're looking to hire like multiple profiles, right? If you require full stacks, DevOps, QA, UX, UI designers, most of these agencies have those roles, so they can actually build teams that they have previous experience working together. So that's a huge advantage. And also, if the performance is not good, they can offer a replacement or absorb the cost. So basically, they're providing more accountability, and also they decrease the risk of hiring someone that is not a good fit. On the downside, we have that the costs tend to be higher than hiring directly, as you can imagine, and they are limited to their own resources. That's a big inconvenience, because all of these staffing agencies tell you normally that they have the best engineers, right? So it is hard to actually tell if they have like good talent or not. So and then you will be paying like a markup. This markup on the salary tends to be from 20 to 40%. So this is something to take into account. Every month you will be paying that extra, but you're getting more accountability, and you're reducing the risk of something not working as expected. And in most cases, there's no option to hire the dev as an in-house employee. And that's another thing that is important. If you're looking for a long-term commitment, this still might not be the best way to do it, because you will sign an agreement with this company for this called non-soliciting, if I recall correctly. So basically, it protects the companies to keep their own talent, right? So you cannot hire those developers, which is understandable. At the end, they are providing more training and all the stuff, finding these people and everything. But you can sometimes reach an agreement that after 1 year working together, you can eventually hire them as an in-house employee. And the last one is the headhunting agencies. This is an efficient way to find and hire long-term full-time employees on other countries, or even in the US. But in this case, if we were focused on nearshore, there are some headhunting agencies that are specialized in Brazil, in Mexico, in Argentina, that, given the experience and the network they already have, it is very, very efficient for them to find the role that you're looking for. This is mainly for a one-time service, right? So if you're looking to hire your senior tech lead for your remote tech team that you're building in Latin America, and you know that you require that specific person to be your in-house employee, even if they're working remotely, right? Your full-time employee, and you require them to be like core in your team. Well, this is a good way to do it. One thing that is really important is that the cost and the average hiring time is well defined since the beginning. They will tell you like, okay, how much that you're expecting to pay, then our fee is 18% of that, all right? And it will take us 1 month to get the role. Sometimes they offer a warranty in which, if the candidate is not a good fit during the first 3 months, for example, they can give you a refund, or they can try to find someone else for free. Some agencies can help with visas to relocate employees. Sometimes when you find someone that is really, really good, but they are based in Argentina, you can use this service to bring them into the US and have them as an in-house employee. So at the same time, it works on both ways. One of the disadvantages of this model is that you are paying a prime for this, right? Like you're paying the 18 to 25% of the annual salary, sometimes upfront, or sometimes a part is half of it's upfront and half when they find someone. But you're not sure that they are gonna find the right person for you, and you're already paying a percentage for this service, right? There's no trial period to see if there is a match. For example, imagine that you hire someone and that in 3 months is performing okay, but it's not the best candidate, right? So if there's not a significant reason to say like, I don't want to work with this person because he's not showing to the meetings or whatever. These agencies will apply. They won't give you back your money, right? So a refund. So it's something to consider, and it's important to have in mind. So you're paying a little bit more, so it is important to go with the headhunting agencies that are well established, well known, because that helps you decrease the risk. Now let's go to the steps and best practices that we can consider. Define the basics of your team or role, research your options, vet your talent, hire talent, pay and manage. We'll go and review all of this in detail. First, let's start by defining the basics. So you have to define this, in this case, the size of the team and what roles do you need. For example, if you're looking to hire 10 to 15 people, some front-end, back-end developers, UX, UI designers, DevOps, you need to define that by yourself before you start searching for options, because it is important to know what to expect, right? You need to clearly define the tech stack required and the experience level of each role. This is why it's so important. We totally recommend you to have a CTO or a tech leader in maybe a couple of in-house engineers before you start this process. So you already know, you already have the tech stack defined and everything, and now you're looking for very specific roles that you know when you find them, right? Like you will say like, okay, this is the right person that I'm looking for. Also, what are the soft skills that you're looking for in each candidate? If they are gonna be a leader of a team or they will be just another member, do you need them to, I don't know, like present their progress during the sprints and everything. So the communication sometimes is very, very important. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you'll only talk with the tech leader of that group, of that small team. So that's okay. And lastly, how much are you expecting to pay per role? This is a very, very important part. You have to get an idea of how much is the average salary for that role in that specific country. In internet, you can find those options, or you can ask other friends, other companies that are already been through that process, so they can tell you how much they are paying for their current team. Then the second step is do some research on your options. So as I mentioned, what's the average cost for your roles in a specific country, and how different is the culture there? This is a very important thing. So sometimes we say like, it's okay. Like, I mean, they will adapt. It is easier to find people that is already adapted than force them, right? Or to try to change their working methodologies and all this stuff. So if you decided to hire using a platform, staffing agency, or headhunting, which are the best? Like always do some research on the options out there. Like if you're going for staffing agencies, what are the most or the best known agencies out there that have like very, very good reviews? You can ask other founders or other CTOs what tools they are using and why, and which one do they recommend. So you have to spend time on it. I know that sometimes we're like super busy and everything, but it's so important to actually take time and do our due diligence on these companies. You can ask other founders and executives what options they're using and why. And this is something that I totally recommend. Spend time reading blogs or join nearshore forums, for example, when you can hear or listen to some of other founders saying like what happened, right, when the first time they hired someone doing this like nearshore options. Sometimes you hear like total nightmares, or sometimes you hear like, no, this happened and we were able to solve this problem by doing this XYZ. So that's very, very important that you take the time to do this right. Then you have to vet your talent. It is important to do this correctly, because sometimes you can hire someone and at the end realize it was not a good fit. So it is important to take your time while doing this. Also, while reviewing your candidates, ask for previous job reference and ID check, like just to be sure that the previous employers speaks well of that person, and also that you're dealing with that specific person, right? Because on software, sometimes identity it's complex. So let's say like it is important to validate this point as well. And then we recommend you to implementing a multi-step vetting process, including English exams, technical tests, and then some interviews that helps you measure the cultural affinity with your company and also the technical skills. Look for inconsistencies on their resumes and LinkedIn or GitHub profiles. For example, imagine that you get this person's resume and then you go on LinkedIn and you see like, okay, he didn't work here or what happened here, right? So then you start, if something smells bad, it's better to avoid working with that person. That's something that we could recommend you, or ask them what happened here, right? Like upfront, and you can save a lot of time by doing that. Then, when you decide to hire someone, make sure to understand the legal requirements in the country you're hiring, and that your solution covers all. If you're going through staffing, most of those cases that's covered, right? But if you're dealing with a platform or a headhunting, okay, what happens then, right? When I am in contact with this contractor or freelancer or full-time employee, um, okay, like I'm paying them and they will pay their own taxes. I have to pay taxes for them. So make sure that you understand what's going on there, and the solution that you're using should be able to explain or give more advice on that part. Use or ask for a robust legal agreement that protects you and clearly define the collaboration. This is very, very important. IP, ownership, everything has to be specified in these agreements so you get them like very, very clear upfront. And also, one thing that is important is that we will recommend you always dealing with a US based entity, because this will reduce the issues that arise when working with international talent. I mean, if you're working through a staffing agency, look for staffing agencies that are US based, right? They have their companies in the US, and obviously they have the talent like outside and they have like other companies there, but you are paying to a US entity, and that helps you a lot to reduce situation with the IRS, like why are you paying like foreigners, right, and all that stuff. So just look for that. If you're hiring contractors on that part, well, just make sure like you know that your accounting team knows how to process that, and so everything is clear on that part. So we'll recommend always looking for US based entities where you can work directly with and sign the agreements with as well. And lastly, the pay and management for your team. So there are many international payment options or solutions out there. You just have to find which one is the best for your specific case, right? If you're hiring contractors, maybe there are some tools out there. For example, Balance, that's one that we have. Deal, for example, that can help you process payments like outside the U.S. And if you're paying through a company that is in the U.S., well, you find for solutions that even, for example, Stripe or internal solution where you can connect your bank account and just get invoices and make the payments right there. And then we'll recommend you to set a clear payment schedule with your candidates or third-party providers. As for the corresponding invoices and forms, this is very, very important. Like maybe after the first month of working, they will send you an invoice and you will get like net 15 or net 30 to make the payment, that payment. But it is important to have that in mind, and that your team also has that in mind. When you're dealing with freelancers or individuals, sometimes it's harder because they are expecting the payment like as soon as possible, right? But when you're dealing with agencies, they are able to provide like net 15 or net 30 based on the number of candidates that you have with them, for example. And also, one big recommendation regarding management is that for teams that are bigger than 10 employees, consider adding or asking for a PMP that helps you manage the sprints and deliverables. This is very important. The project manager professional, it's someone that has a certification on this. And sometimes if you're building teams that imagine that you have 100 employees and you have small teams of 10 employees each. Well, you can have one PMP on each team of 10 employees, so they can actually communicate between them. Like the PMPs will work with other PMPs, and you will get an easier way to manage like a big team in your company. So lastly, let's talk a little bit about Symbiosis, what we do as a platform. We are a platform that can help you source, find, vet, hire, and pay, and manage your nearshore tech talent just in one place. So what we built is a marketplace platform that connects tech companies with better software talent from Latin America. As we mentioned at the beginning, we have over 5,000 plus developers from over 180 vetted staffing agencies and independent contractors in Latin America. So basically what we did is that we gathered the best staffing agencies we could find in Mexico, in Colombia, in Argentina, and Brazil. We vet them, and then we invite them to join our platform. These agencies are specialized in different technologies, and they have from 10 to 100 in-house employees. They provide them with office space and equipment. So when you post a project, they review the project and they will send a candidate that meets those requirements and is also below the budget, because it's important to mention that you will always establish your budget. You will say, like, I'm looking for a full stack developer and my monthly budget is $5,000. Then you post that requirement, and all the agencies that we have in the network will review it and apply with their candidates. Also recently, about 6 months ago, we start integrating independent contractors into the network, meaning that they are not freelancers, they're developers that are currently working at a big company, but they want to search for new opportunities, full-time job opportunities that eventually could become an in-house employee for those new companies. Also, our software staffing agencies, software companies that we have in the network, they are open on releasing their engineers by charging a release fee. After 6 months or 1 year, they will charge a release fee of 2 or 1 month of the cost of the developer accordingly. And then you will be able to hire that person. So it's an excellent way to start working with someone, see if they're a good fit, and eventually bring it on your company. In our platform, you can review the profiles and interview candidates. You can schedule an interview with them there. And also you can sign contracts and pay your team in one place. So we have developed all the infrastructure for managing payments inside the platform. You pay in dollars to a US entity. You don't have to worry about different currencies and different compliance and companies out of the US. So the process is quite simple. This is the product demo. You can, after we finish this, it will send you directly to the register section, and you could be able to apply the discount code that we have. But basically you get into this mysymbiosis.team/register. You create your account, which is pretty simple, and then you will see your main dashboard, which is the screen here on the right, and you will be able to add a project. You click add a project, you will define the title of that project. Advanced English is the default, but you can always change that and put it like maybe intermediate. It will change normally. If you put like intermediate English, you will get candidates that might be good in English, but in order to communicate with themselves, right, with other people or other teams. And if you need someone that is advanced, that's the default part, and you will get people on that level. How many years of experience as well, you can define if you're looking for senior talent, mid-level talent. You can define the technologies as well here, and how many months are you expecting this collaboration to last. For example, maybe 1 month, maybe 6 months, maybe 12 months, or maybe it's undefined, right? So you can click there and establish just to get like a general, it's an estimation. At the end of it, it's a flexible monthly model, so every month you decide if you want to continue or not, but you can provide like a general idea to the partner in that case. You, as we mentioned, you define the monthly budget, the urgency. I mean, like if you need them like as soon as possible or next month, and you can define if you want them to come from software agencies or independent engineers as well, like contractors, or both, right? And then on the description side, you share your job description. You can copy and paste it there, and then you post the project. Once your project is posted, you can see on the other picture here on the right, that's your projects. We have one company that was looking for mid-level full stack engineer, and at the same time they were looking for a senior full stack engineer. So they have different budgets and they have different candidates approved to each of them. Once you start getting candidates, it's important to mention that we vet those candidates before approving them. Even if they come from the agency that we have as partners, we review and we send some tests to them just to make sure that they are a good candidate for your particular project. We will assign someone from our team to provide follow-ups to you and ask you questions about, like, okay, there are some agencies that are asking about this particular requirement. Is it okay if we put this or this? So we provide that assistance as well, just to make sure that the quality of the candidates meet your expectations. You will review the candidates here. You can see the profile in detail. You can scroll down in that case and review like all the previous experiences they have. If they are senior developers with over 5+ years of experience, you will review all the information there. You can schedule an interview here at the same time. You will select some options, and then you will conduct an interview in our platform. We have developed the technology to host video calls inside of it. As you can see here on the right picture, you will see the name of the developer. You can click and see the profile completely there, or you can just review like the general information, and you can invite as many members of your team to interview the same developer. So the idea is to save time on both ends, right? Then if you decide to hire someone, you will sign the agreement. Basically, we will send you an agreement through in this case using a remote signature firm like Dropbox Sign. It's a third party, so we will create like this standard agreement, and the scope of work is also provided. You can review the information, but you can always use your own documents. As a client, you can propose to say like, okay, I'm used to use these kind of documents, so you can provide the draft ones. We will review it, and if the agency is okay with them, then we will send them for signature as well. Lastly, regarding billing and payments, you will get there's a section in the platform where you will review all the invoices that you're getting per month for all of your candidates. You might have candidates from one agency and from other agencies as well. You may have like independent contractors. They will all send you an invoice by the end of the month, and you will be able to process payments directly in the platform. So you can start connecting to your bank accounts to the platform. So then you can process payments directly, right? Like, and approve invoices. You can pay them, and that's it. That's covered. And lastly, so as I mentioned, you can start by posting requirements and interviewing candidates without cost. You will only start paying after the first month of collaboration. This is very important to mention. So in this case, it's completely free for you to post a project and start reviewing the quality of the candidates, interview them, see if they're a good fit or not. It won't represent any cost for you. We don't charge you anything extra. This is very important to mention. As a marketplace, as a platform, our business model is that we charge our partner agencies or independent contractors a fee once they get assigned to a project. So it's a one transaction once they get business from our platform. So we don't charge you anything extra for using the system. You will establish your monthly budget and get candidates below that amount. There are no extra fees. And lastly, we provide a warranty for all our new clients, our new customers. During the first month of collaboration, if there is not a fit, you don't pay anything. So we try to reduce the risk as much as possible for you to start working with someone. If it's not a good fit, that's it. You don't have to worry about that. And now, if you share your email and you say like, I'm looking to hire now, on the chat box on the right, you will get 1 week for free if you hire this month. So please do that, and don't hesitate to reach out to us in case you have any questions. We are happy to answer them and to provide a solution to your nearshore requirements. Thank you very much for joining us today.